What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back to the Bridging the Gap podcast. I want to start off with an apology. Oh my God, no. So I got some new equipment to record this interaction with my fellow ginger brethren, Tmcycles, but I didn't switch the mic to record on my side to my microphone. So I'm holding this microphone to my face the whole way, and it's only picking up through my laptop. So it's a little bit quiet at times on my end, and I apologize. This will never happen again. He will obviously be back on. We have plenty of things to talk about at intervals throughout the year to bring you guys the best value possible. So sit back, relax, and here we go. Mr. Tmcycles, thank you for coming on. Here is the podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Bridging the Gap podcast. We have the man, the myth, the Hefe, Hefe Cycles, Tmcycles is here. What a time has been. We've not been on here for a long time, so
a long time.
It was about time that we give the people what they want,
100%,
and bring you on. So how are you, mate? How's it been?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Off the back of a couple of shows, which is a bit of a disappointing season, but it was an odd one. It was like a mini cut with Callum that turned into an Ibiza prep, that turned into a contest prep because the boys can't go to Ibiza until September. So it was one of those things that you just think, fuck, what have I got myself into, kind of.
Yeah,
but it was all right. I was pleased with what we could do in such a short amount of time.
100%.
And we haven't gone too crazy and rebounded too hard at all post-show, keeping things pretty tight.
Yeah.
And now I've got sort of 10 or 12 weeks to gain a little bit of tissue before dipping down into another little deficit for the holiday, and then back on board with Big Cal for an off-season, a proper one.
Awesome. I think we definitely saw the best version of you this year. It was unreal.
Yeah.
What do you think was different from last time?
Just more balanced physique. Condition was better than last time, even though condition wasn't where I wanted to be. But generally, I just think I'm having two back-to-back shows. I now know what needs to be done. Do you know what I mean? And I know what needs to be done in the off-season as well. If we can bring up the legs to get that proper X-frame, then perfect. And already it feels better rebounding off a show and getting some food back in and training hard again. And the legs seem to be getting okay. So the plan is set, and I'm sure we'll execute it.
100%. If you could take the whole season that you've had right now and tweak it a little bit, do you think it would just be time that would be the difference?
Always is. Was on my first show, was last year. Even my old coach Luke Johnson said, you're the type of person that needs to do your prep plus another 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And that almost was the plan, though, because unfortunately we didn't get the placing that we wanted to at NABBA, the classic show, which is the one I won last year, and I thought I'd breeze through this year. That would have then given me 5 weeks to really drop the hammer for the British finals, which was more than enough time, and it didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, me and Brandon got caught up in this whirlwind of YouTube beef, and then I was like, I'm going for a show that, one, I don't really want to do, two, I'm going up against European champions and the caliber's high. But then me being me, I thought, fuck it, let's just do it. And then use Brandon for followers, and it's helped. So
exactly. Do you know how many people came to me saying, oh my God, what's happening with Tom and Brandon? I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Do you see what he's doing here? Like, it's fucking part of the game. It's all part of the
game. He's upset. I'm laughing.
Exactly. You know,
I'm going Ibiza 4 times a year off the back of his following, so I appreciate it.
Exactly. It's thinking 3 steps ahead, and I think a lot of people didn't. They just took it as black and white, but there was so much thought behind it, and I could see it.
Don't get me wrong. The kid's a bitch, but it has no effect on me whatsoever. And he got upset and blocked me. So, but it was good. It was good.
Did you find it kicked you up the ass when you were going for things?
100%. And I think we both got into each other's head. Probably I got into his more so than him got into mine, because I'm a realist and I know what I'm working with. And I don't, when he kept putting up pictures of his legs in or training with Guzman for me that stuff doesn't affect me. Yeah. I know what needs to be done. But of course, it was a very much needed and welcomed push during prep, which was fantastic to have.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree. It was as a consumer, as I've always been of your content, it was fucking amazing to see. Like, loved it. I love the jousting, the mental joust, the real thought behind it all, and it was a joy to watch as a content creator, but as also just watching as well, because you could see the moves being made. It was a chess game, and he was just playing,
Yeah.
Connect 4.
It was. I know it was odd. I just closer and closer to the show, he was messaging me more and more often, and obviously he had, I think, differences with his coach and jumped on board with another coach. And then part of me was slightly concerned. I thought, like, all jokes aside from the YouTube aspect, this he's young and he's running this amount of anabolics. Yeah. Part of me wanted to say, look, just hold up a little bit. You're binge eating, and then you're throwing in more drugs. So just be very, very careful. And then I threw a little joke in, as my whole channel is based on comedic little punts here and there, and he got upset. So what can you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're already here, so let's talk about that Brandon video. Brandon video. I think for me, he definitely crossed the line for a first time. Like, he's obviously not educated in the area, but he's always teetered on the line of not giving information that could be potentially harmful. I think he stepped it with that video. You could see the emotional turmoil he was going through, and it just. The pressure of everything. I mean, his immaturity definitely showed in those days leading up to a contest, and it can break you. But then what came alongside that little episode of binge eating and the borderline crying and breakdown on camera was not the response that should have occurred, which was, pull yourself together, it's pathetic. But instead it was his fans and individuals saying, you're so real. Well done for being so great. And there's nothing to be commended for that. We're all in the same boat. I think what a lot of individuals saw when Brandon came out with his video was, why is he putting himself on a pedestal? We've all gone through a competition prep. We're all doing fasted cardio. We're all in the shit. Do you know what I mean? Get over it. 100%. So, I think he got lost. I think he got lost in his own journey, and just with the 400,000 fucking followers. Blowing hot air, he was just floating around, and he had no one to just to bring him down, really.
Of course, but then you got to look to the coach. A part of me was like, hold on, why am I slagging Brandon off here? Why aren't we going direct? Yeah. His coach is obviously, due to his inexperience and slightly lack of education side of things with gear, he's not running what he's running. His coach is pumping him full of stuff. Anyway, he's too busy in Portugal with his oversized trousers, so fuck him.
Yeah. I think there's a stark contrast between the way you guys did it. What was your mentality going into the post-show phase? Because obviously we can see the way that he's gone. Obviously you can't see it because he's blocked you, but I can see it. And guess what? Guess what every fucking post is? It's just food and shit. Food.
Really?
And considering anabolics and cholesterol and lipid levels, all these kind of things, it's fucking crazy that he's doing. But what was your mentality coming to this post-show? Because I've had binges before post-show, because it is mentally challenging. It is tough old ordeal. But the way that you've done it has just been like clockwork, really. And the way that it's looked like anyway.
I think a big part of that influence was from off-season being kept clean and being less food-focused. So when that transfers into a contest prep, and then you come back out of a contest prep, because you haven't been binge eating during off season, you're not going back into that mental phase of, I can eat what I want. So when I finished show, I was like, obviously if I wanted to enjoy a glass of red wine or some molars and cheese and crisps, I would enjoy it. But my primary concern now is having a goal set and ticking that box. And I spoke about it before, and Brightman as well is pushed it with the food, but it just seems to have benefited his physique. Jesus Christ, he's back up to the 106, is now shredded. Man. So. And I think because his energy expenditure and certain people's energy expenditure is higher, and also the fact that your training volume and intensity increases, so you're sort of utilising that food. I think the worst scenario to be in is to finish contest prep, go, it's all done, back off on training, increase food, and then you just turn into a complete mess, And now I have that goal set. I think it's important. I think post-show, you should have an initial goal set, because then you get this grey area of finishing, competing. You're like, well, what do I do? You start enjoying food too much. So, I have that goal of a 10 to 12 week lean off season and getting my DEXA scans done and before and after for a documentation side of things for YouTube. Then we cut again and stay lean for holiday. So.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. It's like when you've got something like a contest prep, which is inevitably going to just drag every single part of your life into it, and you go into these OCD, obsessive, track every single thing to it's done. You didn't do as well as you thought you were going to do. What's going to happen next, and to be able to set that goal is a very it's a professional way to do it,
Yeah,
and it could have gone one or two ways.
It's coming back into reality, and that's why last year when I went off the back of a long contest prep and then went on holiday to Ibiza and then came home, and I've never been so low in my life. Yeah. I'm not one for being like, I'm so low, man. Like, I don't, but it fucking hell, it was deep. It was very, very tough to get out of that.
100%, I can imagine. So when was your first competition again? What was the first one?
First competition was 2015 as a junior.
Yeah, so you've been competing
and then
over 4 years.
That was like against Ryan Crowley, that big monster guy. Now I don't know, you've heard of him?
I've seen this guy. He's young though, isn't he? He's quite young.
Yeah, he's like massive, Dallas's age, I think.
Massive. I
think Dallas was a big inspiration to Ryan as well. And then I competed with Conor Rudelhoff, who me and him saw each other backstage this year. Then I took a couple of years out and then competed in the Classic last year at NABBA and won it, and had the same thing of, right, okay, we've got 3-4 weeks to drop down, and then they rang me and said, you're too big. So I had to go, okay, fuck. Now I've got to...
I remember that. They just didn't weigh you backstage.
They just didn't weigh me backstage. And if they had weighed me backstage, I wouldn't have been able to compete on the day. So it's like, it's a sham. NABBA's a dinosaur fed. Like, we're never going back. Big Jace is never going back. He got done over this season. I was backstage after, whilst Jason was competing, and I looked, I thought, God, you've got this. He looks insane. And then, like, third place, I just thought, fuck, what's happened here? Like, this is terrible. So, never competing with NABBA again. PCA seems to be on the money, and I'll be interested because I'm coming to your show. I'll be nice to see how that's run as well. Two Bros seems quite tight, so
this year you did the NABBA and then the PCA, right?
Yeah. And then the plan was to jump on board with your show, but I just thought I want to enjoy myself this holiday.
Sure. That's a long season of ours.
Yeah.
My question was going to be based around obviously using anabolics. And coming across from one show to the next show to the next show, with that idea of peaking for the first show is obviously always in most people's forefront of the mind, so more than likely they're going to push drugs a little bit harder for that first one. My question is managing that across, say, like a 6 to 8 week period of competing over those 6 to 8 week periods. What would be the manipulations that you do? Because obviously, with things like orals, you can't be running them, for a very long time. Things like Tren, if you're kind of getting over 8 to 10 weeks, you wouldn't want to run it much longer. So what kind of process are you going through there when you're looking to manage your cycles across different shows?
Orals would generally be completely dropped low or completely discontinued, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of... if you're tight enough on your first show in terms of body composition, there's no real need to continue pushing things. Yeah. Possibly a continuation of some Clen and your Himbine, for example. But on the oral side of things, I'd just drop them. In terms of Tren, you could either completely drop the dose down to a really low level, something like 25 meg every other day with test at 25 meg every other day, and just run that. And then you'd slowly increase them again, either a week. Peak week, you tend to drop test anyway. Some people like to do it from the aromatization side of things. I've done it with and without, and to be honest, it's not a huge difference. Yeah. So I think if you're in condition anyway, including test isn't going to have too much of an effect. And then you reintroduce the orals probably 2 or 1 weeks out, and go from there. Really, I've heard some people start playing around with different acting esters, and it's just pointless because in that window to reach saturation for an enanthate, for example, it's not really going to kick in. And then before you know it, you have to cycle it off again. So I just drop the doses down, discontinue the orals, and get blood work done at the sort of 2 week post show period.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, like a good point to take from that, even that you could apply across to natural bodybuilding, is like when you're done losing body fat, you don't need to keep pushing for more, because it's different with anabolics. You're not going to be losing too much muscle, if any. But when you're natural, like, and you are shredded, and you come out of your next show and you think, what am I going to do? Pushing is probably not the answer, because you're going to just go into muscle wastage, muscle breakdown. So a good thing to take from that is like when you're done, when the glutes are in and you're shredded, you're done. It's just about managing your volume training, recovery, and food from there, and keeping that.
And you could also look at so what I'm doing with Will at the moment, one of my guys who's competing, is we're going relatively hard on low dose test in his first 4 to 6 week period to try and gain a solid amount of condition, and then I'm just bringing his injectables and orals closer to his first show, so that way we can continue that dose that he's using. So instead of sort of starting your blast at 8 weeks out, having your first show and going, oh, I can't really continue this from a sort of toxicity or negative health implication side of things, I'm bringing those injectables as close to the first show as possible, with a good understanding that he's probably going to place quite high, and that way we can continue that dose throughout second show and third show.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Cool. That was my questions about competing and everything. I think something that I definitely wanted to get more knowledge out of you from was going to be social media. So that was going to be the next kind of thing that I wanted to talk about. I think the way that you've changed over the years has been crazy, because I've obviously followed you for a very long time, but more recently so the branding, the little details that probably most people aren't picking up on, but as someone who does it, I can just see these little things that you're doing, and they're absolutely genius. So I want to know, where you're grabbing your branding ideas, your branding image, your ideas for posting these little things, from Instagram posts being, very, very clean and your type of style and stuff. Everything really, dude.
I mean, I think the foundation for branding in general just stems from the Gary V's of the world, and having that continually pop up on your Instagram feed, and you're sort of subconsciously just sort of soaking that information in when it comes to branding and what sort of image you want. But more so, it's not really, I'm not one of these individuals that are like that try almost too hard to try and emulate Gary V. And then you can see them because it's all you're doing is regurgitating what he's saying. And for me, it's just about I want to create an image, and in order to create that image, I need to do this, and that image is a high-end premium quality image. So the smallest things, like you mentioned about the stories, for example, there'll be a continuous theme with the filters. So it'll be like a blue filter or an Abu Dhabi filter, depending on the lighting. The whole shot, everything I do, I'm trying to ensure there's no wires in the background. Everything needs to be sharp, from things like clothes hauls, from what I wear, from the smallest things of when we was looking for a flat. In my head, I want white marble, I want grey top, just from the filming aspect of YouTube and vlogging, it looks clean. So it's just the small things like that, really, that I don't think you learn from other people. You just learn yourself. Yeah, 100%. And then just like a continuation of different fonts, or the same font, sorry, and try not to differentiate them too much. And every little sort of attention to detail, you kind of learn yourself.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think those little things are just things that people aren't looking about. When people say, how do I grow my Instagram? It's not as simple as just posting on Instagram anymore. It's how does your whole page look? How does your bio look? Is it set up so that it's ergonomic for someone to just one tap to your discount code, and making these things flow nicely? And I've genuinely just learned that from just watching you, not even like, talking to you and asking you, but you can see it, whether you think you can see it or not, So when the fonts are the same on the stories, when the swipe ups look exactly the same, when you're taking it, for example, when you're taking a picture of your insight supplements, like I can see that everything is just exactly like the last time I saw it, and it's just super, just pleasant on the eye. And it's clean, and I think a lot of people.
Yours is like that though. I like your way. You've got like physique video, or like do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's something I've just been slowly picking up on from people. Trying to emulate people that are seeing that success, and I think a lot of people are afraid to copy, quote unquote. You saw my last video, people telling me like copy. You're listening to Solomon and shit, whatever. Guess what? The fucking method works.
Yeah, I know.
Like the method works. Like why would you not? You'd be stupid to not play the method. The same way that Brandon's getting his clicks is going to be the same way that some other people are going to get his clicks. So if you're not going to copy something like that, I think you're cutting yourself short.
Sex sells, so that's why we should all do it. It's just sort of as disgusting as it sounds, and but it does sell. But yeah, just to continue and constantly just keep clicking, and like what you would notice on my thumbnails is I'll probably spend 2 or 3 months using that font, 2 or 3 months using this font, 2 or 3 months using that font. And then just the things like it changed when I got the new vlog set up, really, because the Canon shoots such nice, clear, quality pictures, and it goes from there, and you can expand that way. But yeah,
Posting times? You got any advice for people out there for posting times?
Yeah, for YouTube, for the slightly smaller YouTubers that are listening, the earlier the better. I think when you're first starting, I know it sounds a little bit obscure to upload it at that time, but around 2 in the afternoon, and that way it gives your video traction. Yeah. So when I first started, it was afternoon or morning, and that would then seep into individuals' YouTube apps and until the evening. Now I just tend to go for a 7 or 8 o'clock upload. Basically, my uploads are based on my previous weeks and how well they've gone. Yeah, and things like on YouTube, the smallest things like pinning a comment. So as soon as you upload a YouTube video, pin a certain comment and like straight away to anyone that's done it. You also want to put cards in there and end screens. So as soon as you tick all those boxes from an IQ or an SEO point of view, already it starts ranking.
Nice. Yeah, so there's an app you can get. It's called vidIQ, right?
Yeah, vidIQ,
so
yeah.
I've used that for a few years as well. I actually saw Mike Diamond use it for the first time like a couple of years ago. And I've used it since. I bought the pro version a couple of months ago. And it basically just collects loads of data, gives you optimal posting times and tags and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that you can invest in. Instagram, I feel like your Instagram is a bit more sporadic. I feel like Instagram's just got traction regardless of where you post.
Yeah, I don't know. My Instagram, I just roll with the punches with that, to be honest. And whatever, I have a basic understanding of, like, on Sunday I look at my diary and think I'm training with so-and-so here. That'll be one post. I've got a members video coming up, so that'll be another post. Yeah. And generally just day to day, if I don't have any posts, I'll just upload something or pull something from my vlog and then write about a potential update or things like that. Generally, I just flow that with my Instagram. And since doing that, the engagement and the following seems to have been slightly better than go, right, Monday is a post about nutrition. And then you kind of get in this sort of monotonous cycle of, I've got to upload on Monday because it's a nutrition-based post, where I might just want to upload a picture of me and Elle, for example. Do you know what I mean?
100%. If it all comes back to that brand image that you want to show, if you want to be that guy who's, Monday this day, Tuesday that day, then yeah, but when it's not fitting in with your branding, you've got to come to it properly.
I think if you're an education provider, then by all means, like Shredded by Science, PTC that we work for as an education provider, and if we backlog our plans for 3 months, so I know what posts coming in September. Nice. So that way we know, and their following's fucking silly. It's like 1,000 followers a day, but that's from an education standpoint. As me and you, we're sort of a single brand, and we're not necessarily a company that we're trying to push out there. So having posts that are slightly more relatable and lifestyle based are nice to chuck in.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Nice, dude. There's a lot of value that people can take from that. It's something that I get asked about so much, and I'm sure you do as well. And a lot of the questions that I ask for people were just like talking about growing social media following. So there's more going into what we're doing than just take a picture of you looking shredded and hope to get clicks. Like, we're thinking about it.
Yeah, of course.
Sweet, dude. I got a load of questions from people.
Yeah, sure.
Separated slightly. We just jump straight into them. How did your parents or family take the steroid news? So how did you break it to them? Because you were young as fuck.
Yeah, I was 19. I turned 20, actually. It was my 20th birthday. And I just joined Lewisham College, and there was a guy who had a number. And I think my mum and dad are of that, and I've probably similar to yours, of that recreational drug kind of relaxed era that just as long as you're safe, it's okay. Yeah. My parents have ever been, don't drink, don't take drugs. It's like, if you're taking them, just don't push it. Yeah. So I'm in sort of that mindset now with my younger brother, who's getting to the age of 17, 18. It's like, I don't want, I'd love you not to take drugs, but if you are, here's the good quality stuff, and don't push it. Do you know what I mean? So they were fine with it, and they knew I had an understanding of it before, which made them slightly at ease, and relaxed about it. Yeah, and plus, my mum's a nurse, so again, it makes it easier from the needle side of things and injecting. So it's all good.
Yeah, for me, like my mum actually was almost the deciding factor.
Yeah, she was pro, wasn't she?
She's probably not going to want to hear that now that she sees the stuff that I put in my body, and she's like, "Oh no, Josh!" Like now she is, but she was just like, no regrets. She's 64, 65 years old. She's at that time of her life where she's thinking, I probably could have done that. She's like, none of those. Go in, no regrets. My dad's a little bit more old school. He just remains ignorant and just doesn't ask me about it ever, and just says, how's that training going?
Yeah. My dad's a little bit like that as well. A little bit like that. Yeah, it's very good.
So, dude, what's the end goal with you and bodybuilding?
Mm. I'd like to get to some form of national level, and win a potential British title. Yeah. But I just enjoy the process more than anything. I really do.
Yeah.
And enjoy being a source of inspiration, motivation for certain individuals that might not particularly want to be Mr. Olympia, but also have that balance of a lifestyle as well. So for me, there's never been, it's like the same when I get what's the 5-year plan? I don't have a 5-year plan, really. I have an understanding of what I want to do, but I could step outside and get hit by a bus and the 5-year plan's done. So, I'm quite spontaneous in that aspect, and I'll just flow with it. But in terms of the bodybuilding side, just continue growing my physique and get as close to Bumstead as possible.
Yeah.
And
I think the most successful bodybuilders are the ones who just love to fucking grind and just love that process, and don't necessarily think about the placing or the Olympia spot or whatever, So,
yeah.
Side note of that, I just remembered something. I remember hearing in a video from Brandon that his goal is to step on the Olympia stage. He does know that he's competing in PCA, right?
You just can't help people, can you?
Oh, honestly, mate, I heard that. And
you can't help people.
Hang on a second, you're in the wrong federation.
You just go, zoom.
Mental, man.
Fucking crack on doing PCA shows, kid.
Yeah. PCT. So you're in a cruise, right?
Yeah, I'm going to start my PCT in the next couple of weeks, actually.
Oh, so you're going to come completely off?
Completely off, and then just probably run it for a couple of months, and then start again, either with Callum or just before Ibiza. Yeah. Just give myself a break. So. And
you've got all that kind of, exactly what you're going to do for PCT.
Yeah.
Would you run that through that with people? For people? Oh, and also from my question, it will be. Will PCT change depending on what you're taking? Because I don't know the answer to that question.
Probably just the length of recovery time. And the biggest contributing factor is what you've been on and how long you've been on. And I've been on for quite a long time now. But because my dosages have been, I know this hasn't a huge connection and relationship with shutdown. I know shutdown is shutdown, but generally I don't tend to push my doses quite high. Yeah. And I've still got this weird fluttering of FSH and LH when I get my bloods done.
Oh, really?
So even when I've been on, and they were sort of not in the numbers where you want them to be, but there's still some movement there.
Yeah.
So that is a sign for me that when I do come off and start my HCG therapy and then get my bloods done and start Clomid and the required compounds that are needed, that we could be in a relatively good position. I think genetics plays such a huge role. I've had clients come to me that have been on an 8-week testosterone cycle and they're still shut down months after it, even with some form of stellar PCT. So it's a very dangerous game to get into, in the sense that if you are taking that decision to jump on anabolics, then have that lingering thought in your mind that you may be one of those guys, you may be one of those guys that are never going to get back to where you want it to be, Especially from a fertility point of view, which is probably the biggest concern of ours, isn't it? Is fertility. I think if you're in the ages of, even 30 plus that have had kids and aren't too worried about having kids in the future, then crack on. Yeah. You can probably implement blasting and cruising and get your health back down to adequate levels on a cruise. But for us guys, mid-20s, we want to stay on top of that and have that recovery put in place.
100%. That makes a lot of sense. I think it's something that we just don't consider, is that it actually is going to be a decision for life. Like, it's going to affect your life, probably for the rest of your life. And from the amount of people that I've talked to, yes, you're probably going to come back on, but are you ever going to come back to where you were when you were natural? No. Probably not, and you're probably never going to be quote unquote normal again. Every doctor I've ever spoke to has said that, every pharmacologist has pretty much said the same thing. And to get back to normal levels or above normal levels, you're going to have very good genetics in that case. It's going to be a very rare case. So something to consider, that, if you are going to thinking about coming off later on down the line, you're probably not going to come back on properly again.
Yeah, you may just be a genetic freak. I've got a client who cycled off. We had the 4-week clearance period, got our bloods done, and there was some movement there. And I was like, his numbers are still quite high. I'm not going to run anything yet. Took another 2 weeks. His numbers started creeping up again. I thought, you lucky bastard. and now 8 weeks, he's fine. He's back.
Yeah.
Just thought, fuck.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So the answer to that question for me, when we're going to come off, maybe when I'm done bodybuilding. I'm not really. I don't really want kids, so it's not something that I'm looking to consider.
Does Amy know that?
She doesn't want kids either.
Fuck me, you're lucky.
Yeah, she's 30 next year as well, so she might be getting broody soon. So
yeah,
she might hit 30 and be like, Josh, give me a fucking kid.
Yeah, she might be. I get broody when we look after the kids here.
Yeah.
I hold them, I think, this feels alright. But then they start fucking screaming that. You think, nah. Yeah, I've got a few more contest preps and Ibiza holidays in me before I start thinking about that.
Yeah, 100%. How do you know when you've got the genetics for bodybuilding? Open question.
Just the response you get from, I reckon, a lot of people who train the typical scenario of, you look at an individual, the physique is fantastic. You say, what do you train? Oh, I just do a bit of this. You think, there we go. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The same way you'd see a 6'4" individual and has got the genetics of basketball. It's quite obvious. Yeah. The general tight waist, the cap delts, the legs that are already there, the thickness, the density, the recovery, all them things. And I mean, as coaches, we can see them straight away. When we get clients that send over pictures alongside their chest, triceps, back biceps, you think, I'm in for a treat with this one.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You just see like, whoa.
Yeah, of course.
You can see the transformation picture now.
You do. You see the money signs, like Simon Cowell sees the money signs when the singers come in on X Factor. Literally. So, genetic, and just their response, you tend to obviously build a bigger picture as you work week in, week out with a client, and it's nice. And you can experiment with people like that. Because it's taken me years to finally find someone that works for me. It's probably taken you years to find someone. And it's a long, long process. But those that respond like that to like a low stimulus, you think, this is good.
I've always said, like, do people tell you look good? Then there's your answer, because if you're not really doing anything and people say, you look good, you look good, that's the reality of it.
So I'm getting on the YouTube comments now. Oh, he's on steroids. I'm like, finally. Do you know what I mean?
So, I've been trying all these years.
Yeah. Now they're going, no, he's not natty. I'm like, fuck, yes. Because it was all that gear and you look like that.
Yeah.
Now it's actually switched. You get that now, though.
Yeah, mine's like, you don't look very good for what you take. Yeah.
That's just a delusion, and you have to it's very hard to not let it get to you. But that's just
so hard to like. If they just stood next to you and they think, "Fuck, you're actually 100 kilos and 6'1", they wouldn't say shit. For real.
Yeah. You're you're big on fucking camera, but when you see you walking about, even in off season, because I think you was in off season of Body Power last year.
Yeah.
I was just off the back of a little prep, and I thought, fuck yeah, he's fucking packed it on.
Yeah. Can't wait till next season. It's going to be a mad thing. Next question. What's the best DJ set that you've ever heard? Not seen, heard.
Ever heard?
Heard, as in it could be on YouTube, could be...
The most recent one with Solomon at Circle.
At Circle, yeah.
Fuck me. And what was nice about that was when we went to Printworks to see him, he was playing a lot of that.
Oh, really?
And then at We Are Festival, he played some of the stuff at Circle. And there was points at We Are Festival that I just stopped dancing. I had my hands on my head. I was like, oh my God. This lull came over. When I see him walk out with his fucking Elise tracksuit on.
Yeah, just king.
Like a complete... He's just unbelievable. And now I've got this dilemma that we've got Kappa Festival.
Yeah.
And Peggy Goo's playing on Sunday and Solomon's playing on Saturday. And I'm like, I don't really like these day events.
Yeah.
I just, something about getting on it in this heat, I'm a little bit, Or bum off Kappa, and then the following week is Peggy Goo back-to-back with Solomon at Pasha. Ooh. And it's nice and cool. You've been Pasha. It's nice vibe in there. Yeah, so it's a tricky one. I'm in a bit of a dilemma. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'd say the best set would have been that one, closely followed by his Boiler Room set, the most famous Boiler Room.
Yeah. I think my favourite is Solomon Amsterdamsey. He was there back to back with Hosh.
Right,
it's like an hour set, and it's just it just bangs.
Yeah, he's insane. Because my friend Harry, Solomon's only started not blowing up recently, but he's been getting there. He's taken a big spike, and then my friend Harry went to a villa party, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and Solomon was in the kitchen playing. And Harry was like, "Oh, this is really good, mate." He was like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm just starting doing this." I thought, "Fuck me." Yeah, imagine not knowing what is to come in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time. But yeah, he's insane, absolutely insane.
Do you have any clients who are on like shift work or anything like that?
Yeah, annoyingly.
Yeah, because so this question is basically tips on optimizing stress reduction for shift work. And
like shift work's now been classified a carcinogen, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Like night work, if you're working shifts, is now as cancerous as smoking cigarettes, which is pretty mad.
Yeah, my mum, who when she was training for a nurse, had to do nights, and she's very well aware of that and its effects having in later life for her now. Yeah. You know, and I mean, it's not that I try and steer clear from them, but generally, if I can get an understanding of what they're doing and based on their training and how much training they're going to be able to get in their nutrition, 9 times out of 10, I might just say, "Look, I'm sorry, you know, I don't want to be in a position here where I'm coaching you." But some guys are good. Some guys can cope. I think one of my guys is on nights. What was the question in terms of reducing stress?
Stress mitigation, really, stress reduction.
Yeah, I mean, just a massive drive on sleep and supplementation for that side of things in terms of relaxation. Yeah. A couple of my guys are on CBD that have noticed really beneficial effects utilising CBD during those shifts. Yeah. And then when we're back into a normal sleep cycle, then we kind of cycle off it.
Yeah, 100%. But you're gonna have to be meticulous. You're gonna have to be meticulous with this stuff.
Yeah.
If if you're constantly flipping where you're sleeping, it's just gonna fuck you.
Yeah, no, it's a pain. It's a pain for both of us because training performance is affected. Blood glucose seems to shoot up. Their weight then fluctuates all over the place based on the sleep. And 9 times out of 10, they're not as dedicated to actually getting good sleep because they're sort of up and about and it's daylight and they're not, you know, they're not. And I keep saying, look, go and watch Dr. Dean's highlights on sleep for night shift, and they kind of watch that and then get a little bit of an understanding of it. But yeah, it can be a real pain.
Yeah, it can be. Next question is on managing different sports. The reason why I want to put this in because I wanted to give a pretty easy stance on this. It was pretty. It was like, how do you split bodybuilding, MMA, jiu-jitsu? Where do I put my priorities? In my opinion, if you want to be the best at something, you can't be balance. It can't be a balance act. If you want to be really good at bodybuilding, you can't be doing MMA. If you want to be really good at MMA, you can't be doing bodybuilding. Inevitably, they inhibit each other anyway because one's functional, one's not.
Yeah, I've had one client, I just said discontinuous one or the other, and he dropped off box. I think he was doing boxing training. Yeah. For a white collar boxing match. I said, you can't fucking. That's its own prep, you know. Boxing is its own prep, and even guys that I've got that I coach that work on the site and that are labourers, you think, oh, it's so intense. I've got to feed them so much food. Yeah. And I just feel sorry for their digestive system, bless them. So that's why we have weeks where we pull back a little bit, just for that sake. But it's one or the other, and I did that as a kid growing up. I was into my swimming, competed at quite a high level, dropped that off because cricket came into play, and then competed at a higher level at cricket, and then bodybuilding started taking over. So it was one or the other. It's never a mix.
Yeah, 100%. I agree as well. Can we ever get rid of the bullshit in the industry?
No.
Yeah, that was my straight answer as well when I read that.
No, which is fine because as long as they're about, and it keeps us in work as well. Because we can take the piss out of them. So it would never, because there's always going to be a very highly uneducated group of people that are very easily susceptible to believing that shit. And as soon as Love Island finishes, there'll be a new reality TV show that will create stars that push products. So we'll never get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree. Final question: Does prep get easier with experience? Has this been the easiest prep for you to manage?
Easy is don't sort of underestimate the term easy. Yeah, it wasn't easy, far from it. It was probably, it felt slightly more taxing and stressful, but it was more easily managed because I knew what needed to be done. Yeah. I really like my I don't think you'll ever get as not meticulous, but ever respectful of your first prep because you're so nervous about stepping on stage. You don't even slip one foot. Yeah. No, like as a junior when I had my 12 or 14 week prep, I didn't even have a bite of a chocolate bar. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I was so scared about stepping on stage in bad condition that I wouldn't even have a bite of the old sandwich. I wouldn't even have a crisp. And I didn't really last prep I was a bit more flexible when it comes down to dieting, but yeah, it doesn't get easier. It just gets more manageable. Yeah. I think.
Do you think your mentality was a lot stronger in terms of moods, like patience, things like that?
Yeah, even Elle said you seem a lot better in yourself, and I think that's because I had an even distribution of carbs throughout the day. Yeah. Whereas previous preps I've heavily backloaded, become more food focused, and thought, right, if I miss my rice in meal number 2, that's an additional 30 in the evening. I'll go and get a Halo top.
Yeah.
So it having that even distribution, keeping things quote unquote clean, kept me quite grounded. Having Brandon there helped.
Yeah.
Having you competing as well, having Joe as well, and having all these inspirational people to pull from. It really drives you through.
Yeah, I agree. Gets better with age for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to now. I've got like a few under my belt, not nowhere near veteran status, Jesus, but now I've got a few under my belt, and watching what you're doing now is a big eye opener for me to see what you're doing week in, week out. And speaking to Cal, it's like, okay, I know now what needs to be done in 2021.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm fucking excited for it as well. Well, it could do, because we could both do your when's your last show?
Depends where we go. It'll be October this year.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on how we go.
October?
Yeah, it depends how we go, I've got a few things lined up. I don't want to say on the podcast, but I've got a few things lined up, which I'll tell you about after.
Yeah.
Possibly October, but hopefully July.
Yeah. I mean, then if it is October, you could rebound like an absolute machine, mate. Do you know what I mean? So,
100%.
And then we can spend 2020 food, eating, and then drop back down for a late 2021 show. Because everyone's saying it as well. Even my mate that I compete with at NABA was like, you got to get classic. I said, I've been fucking saying this.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the wheels are looking more and more alien every day.
Yeah, they're good, but you know what? It's like watching you compete against those guys. I realised that you're not a small dude. I've stood next to you with a pump when you're lean. Like, you're a fucking big dude, and those guys were big. And I think,
they were huge.
I'm still fucking 5-7 kilos off it.
Yeah, cool. I know. I was the same, but then there's a big line of like, when are the judges going to understand that some of those guys are class bodybuilders and not classic?
It's been a bit of a ball ache this year with judging.
100, and that's when Cal said, well, maybe we'll compete when we know what the judges are looking for.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is bust your bollocks in an off season, have a lengthy prep, be in an even better position than this year, 10 kilos heavier, shredded, and go, nah, I'm not looking for that. Yeah. You think, I'm done, mate. I was nearly done at NABA, mate. I was thinking, fuck this. And then I thought, right, come on, let's pull it together.
100%. Thank you for coming on, dude. I appreciate
Thank you for having me, Josh. I appreciate it, mate.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Bridging the Gap. We'll be back very, very soon. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Much love.